Hello everybody! Today we are going to be making a no-sew quilted ornament just like this one. Isn't this so cute? This is actually part one of a three-part series. Here in part one, we're going to be talking about all the supplies that you're going to need. In part two, I'm going to take you through making the actual pattern on the ball. We're going to do every single step from start to finish. You will not get lost, I promise you. And in video three, we're going to be talking about embellishing your ornament. So doing a bow and hanger like this one, doing beads, having charms or jingle bells on your ornament. And by the end, you will have made a perfect quilted ornament just like this one. So are you ready to get started? So first, you are going to need a 3-inch foam ball. Now you can actually use a smooth foam ball like this one, or you can use a rough textured ball like this one. So this is like styrofoam brand, basically. You can use either of those for this style of ornament because there will be enough layers on your ornament that you will not be able to feel any kind of texture or even see any kind of texture through the layers. So I personally do not think that it matters which one you use. Whatever you have on hand will work. All right, so let's move on to pins. You're going to need about 230 to 250 straight pins to do this pattern. And yes, that is a whole lot of pins. Now, the way that I teach this technique, you will actually be using about 50 or 60 less pins than the way that these ornaments are normally taught. But even still, you still need a lot. 250 pins is a lot of pins. I recommend size 17, so that's dressmaker size pins. They are 1 1/16 inch long, so not too long, not too short. This really is a matter of personal preference though. After you make a couple, you might decide you want to try shorter pins, or you might decide that you're having a hard time holding them and you might want to try extra long pins. And you can buy these in this size, so this is a couple of hundred, in most craft stores or Walmart sometimes, and that'll let you do 1 or 2 ornaments depending on the size box you get. They usually, the biggest size they have in those places is like 750 pins. And that is a very good place to start if you just want to test out the waters and see if you even like making these ornaments. But if you get addicted like the rest of us, then you are going to find that you want to find a much better deal than what this gives you. And I have a place that I can link to below this video where you can buy these pins by the pound. And in a pound, you get about somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 to 5,500 pins. So this is what it looks like. That is a lot of pins. That'll do about 20 to 22, I think, ornaments or so. And I think the price is in the neighborhood of 11, 12 bucks, something like that. All right, so now the fun part. Let's talk about the fabrics. For this pattern, you are going to use 2 different colors or patterns of fabric. One of these is going to be your main fabric. So as you can see here, more green is showing on this ornament than the red. So my main fabric is the green, and you're gonna need just over 1/8 of a yard in total of that main fabric. And then you're also going to have an accent fabric, and you're gonna need just under 1/8 of a yard for this fabric. Now here is what is awesome about these ornaments. You're going to be cutting your fabric into small pieces. 2 by 3 inches actually. These are 2-inch by 3-inch rectangles, which means that you could totally make this ornament with scraps, which is awesome. These are a great way to use up your scrap stash. And also if you have just other leftover fabrics, fat quarters, jelly rolls, leftover pieces from a quilt that you made, whatever. These are a fantastic way to use up all those extra pieces. Now in this workshop, like I said, we're just going to be using the 2 colors so that you can learn this basic technique. But your imagination is the limit here. You could use 3 or 4 or 10 different fabrics, whatever you wanted, just arranged in different ways. Now here's an example of one that I did with 4 fabrics. So each layer is its own fabric. 1, 2, 3, 4. Instead of it being alternating the way this is, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the possibilities are literally endless with these. So let me go back to what we're going to be doing. You're going to need your main fabric cut into 3-inch by 2-inch rectangles, and you will need 32 pieces of this, okay? And then the accent fabric, you will need 24 pieces of 3-inch by 2-inch fabric. I will also make sure that I put this all below the video for you so you don't have to remember what I'm saying right now. Now, in addition to this, you will also need one more piece of fabric, which is a little bit longer, bigger piece of fabric. This is a band that you want to be about 10.5 inches or so long by 2.5 inches or so wide. And this is the piece that's going to wrap around your ball at the end. Now, you could actually get away with using something different than a piece of fabric. You could use a piece of ribbon, you could use a piece of lace, you could decorate with beads all the way around. There's lots and lots of things that you could do. But for this workshop, I'm going to show you how to make a band that will cover all of your raw edges and finish off the ornament. Now, a couple of tips for choosing your fabrics. For your first ornament especially, you'll want to choose fabrics that coordinate with each other but are also contrasting, and that's just so that you will have an easier time differentiating between your layers as you're working your way through. If this is your first time making one, that will just make things a little bit easier for you as you're learning the technique. And then also, one more tip, I would recommend that you start with a lightweight cotton fabric for your first one, just because they're easier to push pins into and they hold their shape a little bit better as you're folding. But after you learn this, please feel free to experiment with lots and lots of different materials. Ribbon, like I was telling you about in the beginning of the video. You can use satins, anything that you want to. Some of those kinds of materials can be a little bit more difficult to work with, but once you know how to do it, you will definitely have no trouble using lots of different kinds of materials. All right, so the narrow ribbon for your bow and hanger. Again, your imagination is kind of the only limit here. I tend to prefer really narrow ribbons. I think that they look best on a bow or hanger, but this is a matter of taste. I know some people really like to make big bows on the tops, and they like to use wider ribbon than this, and that's totally fine. Whatever you like is totally fine. You can also combine colors. So you could do a red and a green bow and then put a green hanger or something, whatever you want. With whichever ribbon you decide to go with, you'll need about 24 inches or so for each bow that you want to do. So I'm going to be doing 2 bows and a hanger. So one 24-inch piece per color or per bow, and then about 10 inches or so for your hanger. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in video 3. All right, and then you'll also need a decorative pearl pin. Now these are sold in most craft stores in the sewing and quilting department usually. You can find them like this, so on these little wheels, or you can find them kind of boxed up the same as these other straight pins. So here's a little package of 120 different colors. Now if you don't have a pearl pin, you can actually do a number of other things as well. This is just the easiest way, but you can make your own decorative pin by just popping a bead onto a regular pin and using that. You could use a button. So again, imagination is the only limit, but what I'm going to be doing in this workshop is using a simple little pearl pin. And then finally, you need your sharp scissors. You need a flexible tape measure, and the reason I say flexible, you want the sewing kind, is because you want to be able to lay it against your ball as you're measuring things. And you're just going to need a pen or a pencil. All right, so a quick recap of everything. We need a 3-inch foam ball. You need about 230 or so straight pins. You need 32 3-inch by 2-inch rectangles of a main color fabric, 24 3-inch by 2-inch rectangles of your accent fabric. You need a 10.5 inch or so long by 2.5 inches or so wide band of your main fabric. You need a pearl pin, about 2 yards in total of a narrow ribbon, scissors, tape measure, and pen or pencil, which, oh, I do have a pen right here. All right, so this is what you need to get started. Please go ahead and download the checklist below. Make sure you gather up all your supplies and materials. I'm going to give you some time to get everything ready, because in video 2, we are going to jump right into making your ornament, and we have a lot of fun stuff to cover. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in video 2.